Oh, okay. I tried to.
Whatever keeps you working.
Just to make a comment about that.
I've got a new Apple phone. And a little bit too new.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
How are you? Good. We're going to go ahead and open up our meeting to get started. And it looks like the first thing on the list is to approve some minutes for the last few meetings. So, thank you for getting these notes together for us. You want to take a few minutes and look over the notes, and then we'll move forward with approval on that. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the January 16th meeting.
Well, I have a question about them first.
Okay.
On at the bottom of the first page, it says that we had made a motion to ask at least one council member to be on the master plan for Parks and Rec. It was unanimously approved. Zip, do we have that council person yet?
The council is already involved in the process
No.
anyway.
That's not what we asked.
No,
It was to have one council person to attend these master plan meetings. They're not for the council report, just the person. That's what I had made the motion for.
At the last meeting, I think we had one or two did attend the last master plan meeting that was held at Gaston College.
Right.
Yes, we did. We have
But
one.
if you
Yeah.
can recall of what Carl had said, that it's a much easier approach if we do have a council member that was actively involved in it to push the project along. That was the Wolpert's for the recommendation, which is why I made it. So I was just wondering, I mean, if we're not going to do it, this was a recommendation from the master plan people.
Okay.
Who are the council members that were there? Do you remember?
It was just, Ron Folk.
Ron was at the,
Yeah, Ron was at the last
Okay.
meeting.
So would he be a possibility to ask?
I mean, I
Through
can always ask
with the
that.
city manager? No, or anybody
Yeah.
that on the council that would like to participate on a regular basis. I'm only following up on their recommendation.
I can make that request, but that's not necessarily how the process works, but I can always make
No,
that
well,
recommendation.
how does the process work?
I mean, normally they're not involved, it's supposed to like the citizen input, and then all that information is composed of, and then
But you're
brought to the
absolutely
city
right.
council for them
Right.
to look at it. And they've been through the process, looking at the CIP information from the start, and also from the, getting updates on the master plan, but I can always seek in somebody to attend. And that's-
Well, that was the recommendation from Wilpert, so
Mhm.
Carl, so I'm just bringing that up, I mean,
Okay.
okay, all right, I mean,
Yeah, we can see, we can always see, we can always ask.
Do we have a second for the approval of the new? I'll second.
Everybody approved for January? Yep. All right, and take a few minutes to look at February. Oh, it looks like we already approved January minutes.
Oh, yeah.
They got approved twice.
got approved twice.
Twice, yeah.
Some discussion.
And we approved February at the March meeting. So we just have to approve March.
I have a question about March.
All right, well, let's go. So it's already on record then that we've approved minutes for February.
Right.
She said she had a question about March.
Yeah, no, well, I'll have everybody read first. Don't want to rush anybody along.
All right. Claudina, you want to open up with some questions about
Yeah, I
March?
do.
Okay.
On the three, kind of item number 3, Agenda D, of the contracted services, you had mentioned that you had numerous discussions going on about Parks and Rec, which you were dealing with. Are you progressing along? So you had said that when you got more into it, that you would share that. But that's on the minutes, item D.
What, I mean, contracted services?
Yeah, the ZIPSO, discuss the numerous of the contracted services that the Park and Rec Department is currently dealing with. Then you also said that, and this looked good, that you were taking a new approach with the tennis courts. So I was wondering how you went with that. And then the other thing was that the newsletter, getting back into play. And I was just wondering, has any progress been made along those items?
Yeah, I mean, I can address all those. It's going to take a little while, and I thought that we agreed that we were going to have a separate
Okay, so I'll
Recreation
put this
Commission
on
meeting
there.
to
Okay, sure.
discuss all those things. So
Okay.
I'm welcome to discuss if y'all want to. I mean, it's up to y'all.
No, it's fine.
If I'll just say a statement, I think, obviously had passed around a couple emails, in regards to some questions that had been raised about the tennis courts and people using them, and I think that kind of all bunches into what
To this, okay.
Chris was talking about, moving forward with, obviously, renovated tennis courts. Some other people are probably going to want to use them, and it would be like a difference of a single person going out there to play or to teach a lesson versus like South Point High School wanting to reserve it to do their home tennis matches or something like that. So I think maybe looking at that even into our other facilities is kind of what we were talking about, and it might take some additional time to really look into how each facility is.
Well, long story short, what she's relating to is it was a guy out there teaching a girl at the tennis courts, and he's getting paid for it. He's not paying the city a dime. He don't have liability insurance. So those are the things that we're going to have to address down the road versus a private person or just a regular person coming and wanting to use the tennis courts.
All right.
So those need to be addressed. With contracted services, all the other things that we do, gymnastics, dancing, karate, all those are through contracted services, and they have liability insurance.
Great.
And we can also get a percentage. So that's the stuff that we got to discuss as we move forward, like Lynn said, with the updates to the tennis courts. It's going to bring more people out there. So we do have some other options that I'll share with you guys at the next meeting.
That's fine. No problem.
Any other questions with March? All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the month of March.
A second.
Everybody agree? All right. So, public comment? Okay. All right, and then the capital improvement plan.
Yeah, and
Bunch of new players this year.
And we have Jeremy, which is the city's engineer, and he's been the head of the for our capital improvement plans, and he's just gonna go over the scorecard with you and everything like that, and give you an update.
For those of you that were on the board before, you recall what we're doing is we're advising the city council on which projects the board feels is important. We come up with this document every year. It includes capital improvement projects for streets, stormwater, utilities, and things like that. Parks and Rec have a major section in there, and they always have a big list of one items. We did not have any input from your consultant yet on the master plan, and we expect once the master plan comes through, everything changes, and we'll probably go through another review. But at this time, City Council is working on their budget for next year, and that budget includes debt services and this list of projects that they would like to get done. Depending on when the master plan's done, we'll probably come back and revisit it very shortly. The biggest thing is the City Council allows a certain amount of money for capital projects. And as long as they're working within that budget, they try to get a 5-year budget, then they can shift around. Just a quick update, this current fiscal year, I have listed 2 projects that are either completed or underway, and as it turns out, they're both underway. One, of course, is moving Parks and Rec staff over into the Public Works building. That's under construction. We're hoping by the end of the year, they will be moved over there. That will give some new facilities in the basement for meeting and other purposes, which will be nice. The other one is Davis Park tennis courts, and if I was out there at lunch today, you can see they're well in the middle of that. They moved the asphalt, they're now grinding up the stone to get that level and stuff. So those are 2 projects that we had listed as completed. This year we added 6 projects through consulting with Zip and David Eisenhower. David's in charge of maintenance, so that's his idea input there. The number 1 that was added was security cameras for all our parks and other city facilities. That was felt that was very important. David brought up a project that was recommended by a city council member, obviously that takes their input as well, which has to do with enhancing the embankment at Stowe Park. And they did some work on that with the bushes and stuff, but apparently he has something else in mind with that. I'm not quite sure what that is. We added Davis and Stowe Park's playground equipment. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's for younger children, make sure we're ADA compliant and stuff like that. Stowe Park restroom updates, that's become an issue. The more fun things we do on Friday night down there, the easier those bathrooms are, so we're looking at an expansion of that facility. Linford Park, it's up in North Belmont. It's a nice neighborhood, nice park, no playground equipment to speak of up there, and that's one that we feel that kind of been overlooked for a while. I'm sure when you get your master plan, they're going to say, hey, you need park facilities in North Belmont. Well, we got the property, we maintain the grass, it's along the creek, so it's, except for a basketball court, there isn't a whole lot of there walking trails. And then finally, Gant Park, Zip had got a quote for putting in artificial turf there, and we wanted to take a look at that, add it to the list as a wish list. And a lot of our CI projects end up being wish list items, partly driven by the last master plan that was done, and then partly because we get input from other people. So I'm going to hand out a couple of things here. Just to get you this. This is your section of that report. And it's front and back, so there's plenty of things happening here. But I give it to you as a reference. I will tell you that these projects are listed in order of the priorities that was established by Zip and David at one of our staff meetings, so it is strictly staff input. And it has not had City Council was last Monday, felt it's very important to get your input before they commit finally. And then the other thing I'll pass right now, these are the financial sheets that go with that. These are the dollars. And the projects are listed again in the staff recommended order. And I'll be honest with you, even though staff makes a recommendation, City Council and City Manager will move things around as well. So we don't have a lot of control, but we are trying to offer our opinion so people understand that. And the intent is that we we evaluate projects based on need and not worry about the dollars, okay? Obviously, some of the things that have been on here for a while, rec, civic center, gymnasium, at almost $8 million. Well, we have to consider the dollars for something like that, but a lot of these are small. Our criteria is that to be in our capital improvements program, it has to cost $50,000 or more. So that kind of breaks off maintenance items, replacement of swings and things like that. Occasionally, if we want to focus on a small project as being important, we'll stick it in if it's less than $50,000. I don't think we have any there, but you will see on this chart, basically, our projected cost for 2019 is like the second, third column. And then from there, depending on what fiscal year, I've spread that cost over so we can come up with some kind of number there. The priority number is on this sheet. Again, was based on staff input. And I want you to ignore that. So I'll give you another sheet. This one I call a scorecard. And what you'll see is it has all the projects listed. But to fool you a little bit, I listed the projects this time based on when they first showed up on the CIP. So if you look in the first column where it's got the CIP number, sorry, my finger's not working here. You'll see the number is RN something, the first four numbers there, numerals are the year that was first proposed. So the first one on the list, Parks and Rec Center there, was 2003. So it's been around a long time. Beyond that, there's a few in there, but more recently, I think 2013, we started to see a lot added, and as we've had personnel change, we added more and reorganized it. So basically, what I'm asking that we do tonight is we just go through and kind of speak your opinion about which projects are important and which aren't, and well, they're all important, but which ones have a higher priority than others. And what we've done in the past is we just go through them one by one. And again, I'm not asking you to consider the money because the money would have to work out by the guys that control the money. But we'll just go through and we'll read the project. If you have any questions about what that project involves, do that. But generally what I'm trying to get from you tonight is just priority. Is that out of our, we have 29 projects here. Which one's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? And I don't expect that we'll come up with a consensus, but I think if we can come up that, at least with the first year's priorities, what we think is important, then I think that would be valuable information to the city council, and they can review that and use that as input. Again, right now, the council is scheduled at their June meeting to adopt the budget, which starts July 1. So they're gonna want your input, but they're gonna understand that the projects will get shifted around a little bit and go.
Can I ask a quick pre-question then? So when when the master plan budgeting was approved last year, it was discussed that that would happen last year, and then this year we were going to put in money for architectural drawings so that between the master plan and this, it can start the process of applying for grants and things. Is the architectural drawings, is that something that is categorized in capital, or is that something that we're going to push through because that 50,000 is kind of borderline about what we thought it might cost?
That would be included in the CIP cost.
Okay.
It's not unusual that we might break it into segments a little bit this year, a little bit next year, and so on.
Right.
We do that in other cases. The key is if, like, number one, the recreation civic center, if that's number one on your list, and they want to get it going, obviously they're not going to spend $8 million next year. It's going to take about a year just to
Right,
plan
yeah.
and find land, do the architectural and all that kind of stuff. But if they say, go on that project, that will start with hiring a consultant to do the architectural, and they will.
I guess that,
them,
yeah.
in that case, all the way through the project.
I guess that's my question, because, I mean, obviously, we know it's been a priority. I mean, it's been on the list since '03. So I guess my thing is, I don't, just in the past, looking at these things, if they say, oh, yeah, everybody says our first priority is this, I just don't want to not miss out on the architectural, because we know we're not going to spend $8 million next year on the building. So I'm wondering, should it be broken down?
Well, let me clarify. In the budget process, I had the job of submitting the budget for the next coming fiscal year. And in that budget, I did include monies for an architect to start the gym
Okay,
process.
well, that's just what I want to make sure
So I
of.
did start that process. I also started the process for the amphitheater and a couple of other items in there. The cameras, all those are included in this year's budget. So you guys still do what you do and rank it how you want to rank it, and then we'll go from there. I mean, something may be taken out, something may be added. It's like what Jerry was saying. But we did include those items in the budget for this year. The cameras, the amphitheater, and then monies for the architect for the gym.
The only issue with getting an architect started is you really don't want the plans to sit there and get cold for a number of years.
Well, I mean, I have the same feeling with the master plan. I don't want it to sit there and get
Yeah,
cold for the
that's all.
next 10 or 15 years either. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that, and if you're already doing that part, that's great. I just want to make sure if it needed to be broken up, away from this, or just to make sure that it was there.
And hopefully with the budget process going like it is, and with the master plan hitting at about the same time, which would be June, July, August, then all other mesh, and then council will see the need for the gym or amphitheater or whatever you guys put down on your priority list.
And the CIP program that city council approves, they're just looking at the funding, the dollar amounts, and that's subject to being changed and modified throughout the season. The CIP, my big document here is more of an information document. It's not a policy that's adopted by council. It's not, there's no commitment that these things get done when they get done. It's just giving them information. If you don't tell them what you need, they have no way of guessing. So we try to go through that process annually. And some things, priorities change. In this case, this year, security cameras came in as number one. As far as staff, well, we get a lot of input from the police and things like that, so obviously.
Can I ask a question about those? That's a new item, or
Yes.
I've been gone a little bit, so I may have missed something, but what's the intent of those? Are they watching people and what they're doing, or are they watching to guard against equipment and property, or what's their...
They are security cameras, so they will be focused in where we expect the
So-
problems. Buildings, toilet buildings.
For instance, right now, we got one camera that's located down at Lofton Park. It's on the observation deck where we had the suicide attempt.
Right.
So we got one down there, and it goes by motion. So every minute or once somebody moves down there, it's gonna put it on the cloud. It'll be on the cloud for 1 year. We can go back and look at that, whatever happened down there for 1 year on the cloud.
It's there for two purposes. One, to discourage vandalism and things like that. The first thing you put up is a sign.
Is the number by each park then the number of cameras in the...
No, for instance, no, we hadn't broken down. For instance, it'd be
Yeah,
two.
actually you did.
Okay, we broke it down. Okay, yeah, the numbers, okay.
So my last question on this, I noticed Linford Park doesn't have any cameras, and I'm wondering why.
Linford Park right now is really a real passive park that we don't have any equipment right there. That could be subject to change once we move, because right
That's
now.
my point and if we're watching the
Yeah.
equipment, then I
Well,
agree
we're
we
not-
don't need it. If we're watching for what people are doing,
Well,
and if they're doing anything
And
they
what I
shouldn't
mean,
be.
what I mean by equipment is, moving parts, like down at Lofton Park with the boat landing, those things, and with canoes going in and out. You don't have that at Linford Park. We don't have baseball games.
So it's not there really for the police to protect the people that are there, it's to watch what's going on with the equipment. If somebody has an injury or if somebody doesn't, you know.
It's primarily there to record what happens in the park, and if something happens, damage is done, then they've got a source to see.
I mean, that could be something we could add in the future, because one thing I did put, and I'm kind of going into the next meeting a little bit, I did submit a grant for Linford Park for a play unit, and I submitted that 2 weeks ago.
I mean, we've been talking about that for a while, and I'm up in North Belmont, and
Yeah.
this is talked about up there quite a bit, especially with some recent developments with some land that the diocese is looking to fence in that used to have a park and playground equipment up there. That was taken away because it wasn't ADA compliant a decade or two back, apparently. So this has gotten a little hotter up there, and I'm thinking if we're going to spend money on playground equipment, and it looks like we're spending about $4,000 a camera, then maybe we throw in a couple for Linford Park too.
Cameras can be added.
They can be added, yeah, that's not a
Are these
real-
wireless, or, I don't want to get too far into the weeds.
Yeah,
with just this
they're
one.
wireless. And if you go to etrack.com, ETRAC, I think, and put in my name, Zip, and then put eTrack, that's the password, you can view the cameras now. You can see actual what's going on at Linford Park at the observation tower. And then you also hit a button on there and it can go live. So if you want to look live, you can also go live. So it does have that capabilities. But we're most concerned about having something that we can record down there, because you remember the boat landing incident where the suicide guy attempted. One thing that struck me odd, we did turn it into insurance, but we hardly got any money back for that. So we're out $10,000 for that.
Because there's
mayhaps
no
down there.
evidence. It's one thing.
Yeah, well.
Makes sense from an insurance perspective, for sure.
Well, yeah, we are looking at Linford Park, and like I said, I did submit a grant through the national, I can't think of the title of it. I should get that information back June the 1st, but if that grant don't come through, we may still have some additional monies to be able to put some equipment out there. So we are-
As a resident up there, I'm also partly concerned because there is a mill literally falling down right across the
Right
street from the
across
park,
the street.
which would seem to be a potential liability for the city with some of the things that can happen. You can literally walk through the walls right now if you wanted to.
Yeah, we.
And
As I
that,
recall, part of that mill is above ground too, and you can crawl underneath it.
yeah, it's definitely gotten worse this last winter, I think.
And I did mention that in the grant, hoping that we would get we'd get funding for the grant. I did show that location also. So that was part of the grant process, and I did contact Holy Angels, a couple places like that. I got recommendations from Holy Angels, from Gaston County Schools, Gaston County Health Department, and a couple other organizations, because we do not have an inclusive play unit. There's only one in Gaston County, and that's located in West Gastonia. So it's a need for more accessibility for the handicapped. So part of that will be handicap accessible. So hopefully that grant will come through. Well, if it doesn't, we still have some funds available that we might be able to use to put something down at Linford Park, probably 1st of July.
What I'd like to do is just go through the list a little bit with you, and if you have questions, answer them. And let's use the scorecard list, which I feel was the recreation, civic center, gymnasium, that was in every master plan that was done.
And can I just take a minute? This gentleman here, he called me, he wanted to come to the meeting, but let me introduce him and tell you who he is.
I'm Mike Warsaw. I moved into the McLean Conservancy down next to Daniel Stowe. I have a background in landscape design and personal training. So I called Zip and looking for opportunities to get involved. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
The recreation, civic center, and gymnasium, we all know what that's about, I think, so we don't need to go into that much. The skateboard park, that's been on the list quite a while, and it's moved around in location, still hasn't been determined when, where, and how that'll get done. There is at least one council member that's been behind that for quite a while. sports complex at Gator Road property, that's property the city spent about $1 million on years ago. I would guess none of you have ever been down there to look at it, but it was bought to be a sports complex, baseball fields and things like that. The topography of the ground is such that it's not a good place for that. So anyway, that usually pushes its priority down. Rocky Branch Park, this was phase 2 that would provide picnic shelters and restrooms for the people that use that facility. Rocky Branch Park actually is one that was first put in 2010. It's still hanging in there as far as making it the equivalent of what we might call the parks to be. The southeast and the southwest Belmont area mini parks, that was part of the master plan, whichever one that was, around 2010 when it got added. That looked at development as it was occurring down the peninsula and Henry's Chapel Road in that area. We thought, well, as we get development in, we can maybe get them to donate land or do a park. They're on the list, but we're working with developers as we can get things taken care of there. Rodden Field is a restroom building. Rodden Field is our baseball field. Maybe it doesn't get used as much as it used to, but it's on the list there. The rail trail, that's the trolley line going up. That's on the list. We view that as recreational, and that's kind of in process. It's working with the state through grants and so on to get that going. Abbey Creek Greenway, that's a walking trail that is proposed that essentially parallels Wilkinson Boulevard. It's on the north side of Wilkinson, south side of Wilkinson Boulevard. Follows a creek along there, Abbey Creek, and that happens to also be where we have our trunk sewer lines. So we mow the grass over those, and we thought this would be a good place because it's a direct connection. It could go all the way from Lofton Park up to Walgreens. And that is currently being worked on by the planning department. They are trying to acquire the necessary easements for that. We have easements for our sewer lines. They're just not designated for people walking on them as well. Stowe Park sidewalk replacement. Anybody who's been in the park knows we've got some sidewalks we got to replace. Have that on the list. Davis Park and Reed Park picnic shelters have been identified as making those two parks more usable. Davis Park is obviously used a lot. Every time I drive by it, there's 1,000 kids there. But Reed Park, we'd like to take care of that area of town as well, and it needs some kind of facility. The intent, I think, was that if we have facilities like this, picnic shelters and other things, at all our parks, then we can spread out our park users on all the parks rather than everybody coming to Stowe Park downtown. Reed Park also a restroom building. And then Reed Park ADA access to the lower field. Right now, you can't get there except go down that steep hill. And honestly, we're waiting to see what the master plan says for the use of that field. And if it's a field that won't get used as much, then this will have a lower priority. All field lights. We list several parks there. If you look at our lights, obviously, Gant Park has the nicest, newest lights, but a lot of our light poles are old wooden poles. Yes.
Would these lights be the automatic ones that we've talked about, or are they just the traditional?
No, that's probably still be key.
Right now, we are in the process of doing that. We have automated
Right.
Gant Field, Crescent Field, and Reed Field so far.
Okay.
That's that one.
So with this proposal, be the same as what we're talking about doing
It
with
can be,
other-
but it can be done with first getting the poles
So
redone
this
versus the prior.
Just-
Our
the-
intent is to upgrade it to the current standard.
Okay, so you're
Okay.
taking down the old poles
Yes.
and then
Okay.
putting new lights versus
Yes.
just putting new light
We're just
fixtures? Okay.
replacing light bulbs or fixtures. and
Right,
things
right,
like
right.
that.
Okay.
That's a maintenance item, and that
Yeah.
should be out of the maintenance budget.
Gotcha. That's what I was thinking, okay.
Yeah. Bleachers, we have several bleacher sets around town that are pretty old, and certainly some of them aren't ADA compliant, with the proper floor seats. So that was put on the list. The recreation, multi-passenger bus. This year, we rewrote the description in our CIP book to include the option of maybe going to 2 or 3 vans instead. If we go to a bus, we need a bigger bus than what we have. It's got to be ADA compliant. It takes a class 2 or 3 driver with the right license to drive it, whereas if we had vans that were available, they could be driven by just people driving, so.
Are you talking about like, kind of like church van type thing?
Yeah, church
Okay.
van, but,
Roughly.
a van, yeah, not as big as the bus we have.
15 passengers.
15 passengers.
And we felt that that might be a good alternative. That's something that hasn't been discussed much except by staff. And if council says it's time to do something with the bus, then that will be an option to be thrown out there. And as you know, council has chosen not to do anything with the bus so far. Seven Oaks Park, that's in the McLean development. They will provide us with property for park. I don't think it's been scoped out completely what would be in that park. The master plan would help you with that. But there is money associated with the development of that park. So we'll get the land, but then they'll ask what to do with it. Crescent Park, restroom building, obviously when they're playing softball out there, there's a big need for that. I will say that the only issue with that is the city doesn't own the property, so they've been hesitant to spend a whole lot of money as long as the Farr family owns that property. Maybe when Farr starts to develop on the other side of Catawba Street, we can twist some arms and get the property. Obviously, it's a well-used park at this point. Kevin Lofton Riverfront Park, a bathroom facility down by the boat landing would be nice. And then last year, 2 years ago, we added a splash pad up by the big picnic shelter in the park. Another item last year that was added was the rowing club center improvements. The city has come to an agreement with the Belmont Rowing Club that they have purchased a piece of property down by our wastewater plant. This is for some cooperation with the city for some of the improvements down there. They are giving us a good portion of the property, and they have us involved because in order for them to get their FERC permit for docks and piers and things like that, it has to be a city-owned situation there. The city and the county, by the way, will put in a boathouse on the lake that will be used for the county police and for our emergency, the fire department, to go out there and rescue people. So it'll be a nice facility. It's hard to describe where it is unless you've been down to our wastewater plant, but if you get all the way down that road, and just before you come in the gate of the wastewater plant, if you look off to the left, there's some property there. It's been vacant for years. It's down below the trailer park, the mobile home park, excuse me. Gant Park, soccer field, turf, and Stowe Park embankment enhancements, Stowe Park restroom and Linford Park playground equipment, those are all new items that we added. Now, my intent is that I took them out of order, just so we can kind of go through and think about it, and if we can come up with a consensus, like you folks would just say, hey, I think the number one priority is Abbey Creek Greenway. Then we'll take a quick vote, and if we think that's the highest priority, we'll just give it a 1 on the chart. So that's, everybody's gonna have their own opinion, and that's, we're not trying to get everybody to say, oh yeah, that's number 1. But we'd like to have a feel in a way that we end up with something we can present to council. And I'm not quite sure, I don't want to direct the conversation, because it's just for me to take notes here, but we can start just to get a feel, go 1 by 1, and maybe have each of you say what your number 1 choice is, and have a discussion about those choices and see if one of those.
Can I make a general statement too,
Yeah.
while we look at it? So, I've pretty much been open about my feelings toward park maintenance and those things, and been open and honest about how my personal feeling is. As we look at these things, I've kind of marked a couple of things, and it looks like there's about 5, possibly 6, new projects or new parks that are on here. And my concern, again, is that the majority of this list is maintenance that needs to be done to existing parks. And it's important maintenance. I mean, things like ADA bleachers, or, making sure restrooms are appropriate, or having a picnic shelter at Davis Park. Whew, that would be awesome. So again, as we put these in priorities, and we don't know how they're going to fall with the budget in the next few years, unless there's just this great grant that comes in and takes care of a new park and everything that belongs with it, I think that these bigger maintenance projects are super important, because, if Davis Park doesn't get maintained, or, Linford Park doesn't get playground equipment, or, Reed Park, we haven't had access to that lower field in I don't know how long. Rodden Field, it's closed. I'm not even sure exactly what's going on with that. So my concerns, and even while I've got the mic here, Frady Field, even with that, with people playing basketball and the way they park cars, you can't even utilize the field. So I think there's some things to look at for maintenance with existing and what we have now before we branch into making these mini parks, or, the add-ons, the skate park, and, those kind of things. A sports complex, which I would love on Gaither, but I'm familiar with the topography issues of that area. But anyway, as we talk about this, that's just an overall statement that's been pretty important, as looking at existing things that need to be taken care of, that really, again, should be on an overall maintenance schedule kind of thing. So I just wanted to say that out loud.
Can I make just one suggestion? Is maybe we'll go through and see which projects are at the bottom of the list.
Sure.
That might be easier to eliminate those, and then we'll go back and say, okay, what's remaining. And I would say that the sports complex on Gaither would be low. The Rocky Branch Park, I'll leave that open. The southeast and southwest mini parks, I'd say both of those are low. And I say that because there's been no action on them in 10 years. One more. The rail trail and Abbey Creek Greenway, the rail trail will happen when it happens. So I don't think we need to apply a priority on that. I think we all agree it'll be a very nice thing, but when it happens, there will be grant money. We're looking at $1 million from the state on that. DOT is kind of running the whole show right now because DOT owns the railroad lines. So I think we're just going to see that happen when it happens. The Abbey Greenway, just for your information, there's Garrison property which falls in the middle of that Greenway section, and that's the piece of property where they're looking to put apartments, and that's an active development scenario that hasn't been totally approved, but that is in the works. If that happens, the middle of the Greenway will be there.
Yeah, I thought that was approved. Because they were going 4 stories.
I don't
No,
think
James-
it hadn't gone to city
We
council.
haven't gone to city council next meeting.
It was in zoning, okay.
Is there an opportunity to run the greenway through their property?
Well, yeah, but they're not gonna give up property where they can build buildings.
Right in the middle.
They
But I
will
thought I
have-
had read in one of the articles about it that they were proposing as part of that, putting in some greenways and
Oh, they did,
parks
yeah.
and stuff too,
Well,
so.
they will have access to it and so on. I mean, you'll be able to go and park your car in there and get to the Greenway. The Greenway itself is pretty much like the Charlotte Greenway. It follows the creeks. It's, it's usually that space is available because there's sewer
Yeah.
in that area. And that's the way we look at it. It'll be a multi-purpose trail because we'll have to be able to drive some of our maintenance vehicles on it, so go there. But it's, where it's going to be exactly on that Madison property, I can't tell you, except it'll probably be down there by our sewers because we have the easement for the sewers, so we can't do anything there. And more, I don't know, the better views are up the creek rather than going through their development. But they're close enough when they get, that site's been cleared, it was logged a few years ago. They'll have buildings that overlook down towards the Greenway. I can't get into the details of how that's gonna look and what's done because it's in the planning department right now.
So would your recommendation for that Abbey Creek Greenway would be to hold off to see what's gonna happen with that property?
I'd say definitely so. There hasn't been any move. Years ago, I took the city council out there, we walked it, and it was a fun afternoon, and all were enthusiastic, but there hasn't been any desire to do that. We did get a small grant to look at acquisition of right-of-ways and easements for a walking trail, and there's a planning staff member that's meeting with property owners all along the way. It would interconnect with the Adams Bluff trails that go around the outside of that, get us across, and then it would come out around the Public Works building, actually on the north side of Tyndall Motorsports there, and so on. So, there's activity on it, but it's one of those projects that will happen when it happens. It doesn't necessarily have to be the most important thing from a recreational standpoint. It's a nice object that everybody would like, I'm sure. Stowe Park sidewalk improvements, I think that's a matter of maintenance. That stuff's been going on for a while. Davis Park, Reed Park picnic shelters and bathroom buildings are less maintenance and more, I wish we had this at our parks kind of thing, so we'll do that. Ball field lights and bleachers, we talked about that. Seven Oaks Park, I'll just tell you that that'll happen when it happens, but I don't think it's anything that, no offense to you because you live down there, but I don't think.
It's busy.
Well, it's growing so fast down there, there'll be a need for it, but we're not at that point yet. Stowe Park Pavilion, probably higher priority because we took the old one down. So it'd be nice to have something that, if you look in your handouts here, you'll see a pretty picture of pavilion, zip found, and he's got the pricing on, so it'd be quite nice to do band events and things like that, or Friday Night Lives, because it's a place to actually put the band, which isn't in the street. So that's good. Crescent Park is a bathroom building. Lofton Park. I don't know, splash pad, I think that's a feature we don't have in town, so that might be important to move ahead with. Rowing Club Center improvements, I've just got to call that low because you don't have a whole lot of impact on that at this point. It's already been decided by council that they're going to move ahead on that one. Davis and Stowe Park playground equipment, that definitely is maintenance, but I think you all agree all the new playground equipment we put in some of the other parks are quite nice, and certainly makes it higher standard for the rest of them. Gant Park soccer field turf, artificial turf, I think that's a high desire from a maintenance standpoint.
What, I mean, I'm not expert in turf, so what would be the, you know, obviously I know wear and tear on the field now. You guys have to close it, reseed, so maintenance would be less on turf.
It'd be a lot less maintenance.
It's a lot less.
How much is the maintenance now? I know we've talked about this.
How much is maintenance now? Well, you remember last year we made a plan to redo those fields every 2 years at the cost of $18,000 every 2 years, and that's not entailing the grass cutting and some of the other general stuff like lining the fields off, cutting the grass, those type things will be an added cost.
Yeah,
Most of the fields are out of service for a long period of time.
So the advantage would be
It's more an in-service
the
thing.
field,
Cost,
and
right?
I'm assuming you would use the rubber pellets on artificial turf.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they got new technology now better than what they got.
Yeah. But still, those have to be replaced on a periodic
Right,
basis.
what's the lifetime?
Those
of
last from
something?
10 to 15
About
years.
10 years.
Yeah.
About 10 years. It depends on the use. The more use you get, the more you're going to have to do it. So it's a matter of coming out there, piling it up, scraping it all in. The painting is a big piece, right? So
Yeah.
once you get it and you have it, the field's painted, it's good for a while, depending on your paint. It's going to last a while, so touch up. So there's advantages to it. There's just a lot of capital up front to put it down. I know a football field's
Yeah, this says.
$300,000 to $400,000, depending on how big it is.
It's now
What is this?
Million.
Per field or for both?
For both.
For both, yeah. So that's about right.
Yeah, it's $940,000.
$940,000 for both fields.
So if as I look at these numbers, 18,000 a year in maintenance versus 250,000 per year for 4 years to pay for it, we're not talking about saving costs so much. We're talking about how long we keep this in service and what use we get out of it over those 10 years, right?
I think it's logical that you think about it that way, but I think in terms of going to city council, you need to say, this is important because it's important to our park system, and this is what we need to do. I know Zip's spending a lot of money on maintenance here.
I've had kids play soccer in all the fields, and I definitely see the demand and the use. I'm wondering how much more use do we get out of it when it's available all year long? Have we looked at, how many more people we're going to be able to run through those fields? Because we're
That's a
talking,
good question.
The only really thing that I can see is the benefit of it is the rain. We're getting a lot of rain out games, and that pushes us back, so that's going to be one factor in it. That's the main factor. And then also shutting down the fields for an extended period of time and doing that maintenance when the field gets, because we have to shut down that field for about 2 months, January, February, and 3 months, January, February, and March, and let the grass breathe some.
and we've
before we
talked
get back
about
on
the
it.
potential for holding some kind of tournament and things like that here in Belmont as well. If we know the fields are going to be available, that, we don't have to not have it because the field's all torn up.
Right, I mean, but that is
But how many tournaments are coming in January, February,
Yeah,
March?
it's
also?
soccer, mostly spring and fall.
yeah.
So it's not year-round, so we're
It's all
talking,
year round. I mean, somebody will use it. If it's there in January, somebody will be out there.
They'll be out there.
they'll be
Yeah.
practicing. So we're talking 8-9 months heavy use though, where we might only have, 4 or 5 because of, my point is, look, we don't allocate money towards any of these things, right? This all comes out of the general fund. There's no special allocations designated to maintenance such that this becomes a hit on your budget when you need to go maintain it because you may not have the money, you may or may not have it. So this automates, or this sort of takes that thing and pays for it up front so that you don't have to worry about that. And I think that's a good thing, but we're talking about the community paying $1 million for this, and I think it would be helpful to understand, how many people in the community are we going to be helping with it? I think it could be a big number, and I think there's a lot of people in the community that will be in favor of that. But this is a budgeting problem that our city has and has not solved, and this is a way around that budgeting problem.
I will say that our city council has mostly solved the problem of finding enough money to do capital improvements. And if you went to the city manager, he said, yeah, we're pretty close there. We now have money to do it. I'll tell you, 10 years ago, there wasn't any money to do anything.
I understand, and we're looking at
how to do this year after year, and
that may not be there in 2 years, though, right? I mean, as the economy goes, we might go through another bust cycle in a few years. And so this prevents us from getting into that trap where we don't have the money.
But the reality is that our growth rate over the past several years has been huge.
True.
And,
are we
that's
bringing in money from that growth, though?
Yes.
So,
Raised taxes last year.
And I would say one other thing, I mean, it's still a finite amount of money that we can be able to use. So if you go spending $1 million on the turf field and you want an $8 million rec center, and you want the splash pad, you want this and that, all that's not gonna happen.
Right.
Right, exactly.
So that's why you
That's
gotta
the
hit the
priorities.
prioritize.
That's the
That's
priorities.
what we're looking
Well,
at.
And I agree, go ahead, Bree.
No, go ahead.
I agree with that too, because you're saying, we're spending $1 million on turf, and we could take that $1 million and update our bleachers for ADA compliance and put in new restrooms and update, how much more could we do with $1 million from this list that is necessary and needed and helps the broader public. And I mean, my kids play on those fields too, so, I mean, I do feel like we have to think about the budget in this process of, if we're making recommendations, maybe we should be making them for the broader audience and also thinking about how many projects we can get done with that amount of money.
Well, and I'm not asking you to say these 5 projects for this first year, these next 5.
Right.
I'm just saying, I just need to know what the high priority is, so when the council then looks at their list, they'll say, oh, well.
Because this will change every year.
Yeah.
So we'll do this again this time next year.
The board has clearly indicated that they want to do this, this, and this.
Right, yeah.
And when it gets done, depends on how much money and where it falls.
So I think, to kind of, and please, tell me if I'm misunderstanding, just from looking at these things for the last few years, is that I think as a group, if we can come up with the top 5 or 6, because honestly, in one budget year, if we could get to those, that would be awesome. But the reality of that is that it won't. So I think you've done a great job in saying, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that we've kind of said, let's move them to the bottom. And let's look at what we have left and let's decide what is our top 5, 6. And as a board, we'll say for this year, this is what's important to us. And then, I think we've kind of worked a lot down the thing. Maybe now let's go back to the top and see out of what we've got left, what's important.
I'd like to ask a question too, because the security cameras are not on our list,
They're on this one.
on the blind list. They're on
Oh, it's
the,
not on the scorecard?
No.
Sorry.
so we'll just add it in at the
Just
bottom.
add it to the bottom, yeah. It's number 53.
That is happening though, right? That is,
It's in the
I
budget.
believe so, yes.
Yes.
So that's gonna happen.
It's been strong support for that.
Can we talk about the embankment enhancement? Because I'm kind of with Leanna in the thought that there are things on this list that have to happen. I know we're not classifying them as maintenance, but to me, if we're having erosion or if there is some structural issue, is that something that we have to do? I know this is our essential wish list, right? But if that's something that's structurally important.
We spent money in the last 2 years, I think, I don't know how to describe this project.
Sure.
It was just told to me by David Eisenhower, who had been contacted by a city council member that says, hey, we gotta do this.
This is an issue that we're experiencing.
So I can't tell you.
The embankment, is that the one coming off Main Street?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean,
They put
have a
up the
question.
fence that-
yeah, I mean, over the last, like, gosh, I would say even, let's see, like 12 to 15 years ago, I mean, so much has improved even since then, because kids would take their bikes and go down. I mean, you'd have like
right.
worn out the sleds and the bicycles and
Yeah.
everything. I mean, obviously, the enhancements that have already been made, the fence, I'm sure,
Fence is
discourages that a lot.
With the shrubbery too, that
Yes.
they put
Yeah.
there
But I don't.
so it looks good.
Don't know what this project is.
Okay, well, that's on the
I'm
bottom.
just telling you that.
That's great.
I will just say from when I worked in Stowe Park and all that, I know that Stowe Park gets a lot of wash from rain. It does get a lot of erosion, which obviously the sidewalks issue. At one point, there was really nice curbing around the sidewalk, but over the years, it was, I mean, it chipped away and I think ultimately has been removed. I don't notice it when I'm down there anymore. But I do think that as much use, and obviously the location of that park,
Right.
I think keeping an eye out for those kind of things, what we're talking about, is super important, because it is a much-used park, and it's definitely a focus, when people are downtown. But it does get a lot of wear and tear. I mean, just natural wear and tear. That's not even counting the people who are still running up the hill and taking on that embankment, so.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like that park, we're giving valuable real estate in our downtown to a large park, and it should speak to who we are as a community. And we don't want visitors coming here and saying, oh, this park really needs some work, you know?
And I think it got to that point, and that's why there's been.
Yeah.
A lot of work on it.
The last several years to work on that park.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, new playground equipment
Yeah.
made a lot to do, just taking down our whole.
Yeah.
So if we take a look at Stowe Park just in general, the embankment, the sidewalks, what about the pavilion priority? Maybe you can answer. Is that super priority?
That's happening, right?
The pavilion has already been put in the budget.
Yeah, it's already happening.
So if you guys want to say no, I mean, that's up to, that's up to.
No, I knew that one was in the work.
Like I said, I put the pavilion in the budget, I put the cameras in the
I'm sorry, I missed
budget
that part.
So
already.
if it's written into the
Things.
budget, we don't really need to prioritize it,
And I mean,
right?
that's enhancement, our council approving at the next meeting.
Right.
Okay.
But we don't need to worry too much about
No.
prioritizing it. Okay.
Can we go through which ones are in the budget so we know which ones to ignore and
Well,
just bump into the top?
I mean, Sid's still gotta get his budget.
It's gotta be approved, but right now, the camera.
Or is that
and-
even appropriate? I apologize, I don't want to jump the gun. Should we blindly go ahead with what's
Right.
going into the budget to the city? I don't,
Well, I wasn't aware he's put it in his budget.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, the
So
budget's
you
already
would
been
almost
submitted.
like us to
Yeah.
kind of back you up on those, just because they're in your budget?
I mean, y'all make your own decision of what y'all wanna put in and what y'all don't
Right,
wanna put
okay.
in, and we'll sit all at the council and the other side,
I mean, council can tell him, no, you
There's
Sure.
no, you don't get the
we're
pavilion, no,
gonna
you
put
don't
it
get the.
into a CIP, and
Yeah.
we'll have to share with.
But I think the council wants it though, right?
Wants what?
Of the
In
pavilion,
general, I
of the
would say-
plus
I
of
would
the
say so,
cameras.
yeah.
I mean, of the
Yeah.
I think
well,
the-
because David has gone before the council many times.
It's been positive
and
from all the departments,
spoken about it, yeah.
especially the cameras and pavilion. Like I
Yeah.
said, Stowe Park is our focus part, so
Yeah,
we're
I
trying
would-
to.
I would say the council's direction the last 5 years is
Well,
let's
has
get
been towards
Stowe
that,
Park
right.
fixed up.
Downtown.
Beautified.
Yeah,
Right.
And, so anything that's getting funded through the CIP process is outside of what's being approved through your budget. So if
No,
you,
those are components of the CIP, but we had to submit the budget was due a couple weeks ago, so I had to go ahead and submit something. So I went ahead and put the cameras and what I thought was a priority by not only residents, but also the city council.
He's
So,
being safe, he put it in both places.
yeah.
No, it's safe.
But I'd still say we would need to confirm what he's.
I mean, and.
The priority of it.
I mean, confirmed from you guys, and also we need confirmation from the master plan too, so that's what we're trying to do, is confirm all those projects that we have.
so
That's
what,
the tough
what
part.
else did you put into your proposed budget?
Just those two items.
Just the two?
Okay.
And the
And the
architecture?
architectural.
And the architecture money for the
For the,
gymnasium.
Yep.
Right, those two things are in there.
Leanna's point is well taken about the maintenance, which is really important. But I don't want to lose the first item here, the rec center.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that we definitely need to keep that going.
And like Jerry has said, this is gonna be a long process. Once the money's approved, and it'll be July 1st, and we can go out and hire an architect.
Right.
That's gonna be 6, 9 months, a year-long process to
course.
get this stuff done,
Right.
so that's where that part comes in at.
Right.
So
But we don't wanna-
this time next year, July, we'll be looking at
For the
hopefully
architectural
having
plans.
plans or having something ready to go to council for them to approve or something.
Okay.
So hopefully, I mean, that's gonna be about a year process.
Can I make a recommendation that I want to keep moving this along because we could just keep rolling over this. If you go back, I know we're looking at the scorecard, but if you go back and look at your draft sheet, for these top 5 things that they had already, are we comfortable with leaving those as the top 5? Knowing that two of them are already hopefully going to be passed in the budget, and then obviously number 5, the architectural part, we'll have in the budget. Are you comfortable with putting those as top 5 and then let's work from that, or would anybody like to move something else to those top 5?
Of the top 5, beginning with the cameras, of the park, of the embankment. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There's actually 6.
I'm
Then
sorry,
also the
excuse me.
gym.
Oh,
I would,
yeah, the gym, well,
6.
I have 5.
I'd make a
Am
case
I on
that
the right
the
page?
Stowe Park restroom
Yes.
update is more important than the embankment.
I was gonna
enhancement.
say the same thing.
Yeah.
Anything that allows people to be present
Yeah.
in downtown easier.
Yeah.
Fred, I'm so sorry, I was counting them, and I did not hear what you said, I apologize.
I counted by this first row of dollars spent, so there's 6 up there.
Okay.
The playground equipment?
Oh, with the playground equipment was part of it?
I was just starting with those first 5.
Yeah,
Just
to
to
the
get-
gymnasium.
Okay, and Brett, I apologize.
I was just offering that I think the Stowe Park restroom update is more important than the embankment enhancement,
Right.
which I would put in the
Yeah.
6th position. But
Okay.
I think the restrooms come first, especially with all the events that we're doing
I would
downtown.
agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through this then. The security cameras, we're gonna say is number 1. We're going to put in, do you wanna then put the
Sidewalk replacement,
sidewalk replacement as number 2?
pavilion.
Pavilion number 3, restroom number 4,
Yeah, 4, yeah.
and then embankment number 5, or you wanna make that 6,
I'd make
excuse
that
me.
6 and
I
leave
would
rec
make it
center and
6.
5.
Rec center is
Rec center
number
5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Wait, can you say that one more time?
yep, I got security cameras as number 1. I've got the sidewalk replacement as number 2. The pavilion is number 3. The restroom updates, number 4. The recreation civic center and gymnasium, number 5.
Okay, yeah.
And then in the embankment, number 6. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And then the
so-
playground equipment is number 7.
That's been done though, right?
It's only partially done.
Oh, okay.
Wait, Davis and Stowe Park? Yeah, I think it's primarily for equipment for smaller kids.
For smaller
Yeah.
kids, yeah, we
Yeah.
upgraded from 5 to 12-year-olds, and this would be 0 to
okay.
5 would be
Is that smaller one?
Stowe Park and Davis, yeah.
So we want to make that number 7,
What was number 6 again?
6
Embankment.
embankment
Oh.
enhancement.
Yeah, you can make it 7.
And then if we look down at other playground equipment, I mean, I know what about making Linford?
Yeah.
That would be our other playground equipment.
Okay,
Make it
Yes.
number 8.
yeah.
Yep, I would agree.
Okay, so what do we want to look at now? Do we want to look at, honestly, I think like things like restrooms at Rodden and Crescent, although they would be nice, I mean, they've made it this long without a bathroom.
I'm looking at the picnic shelters.
Okay.
or
For the-
even the ADA.
Yeah, I was gonna say the ADA access, the Reed Park.
For the Reed Park?
Well, let me clarify on Reed Park. The rule is you have to have one ADA park within the city, and a lot of our other parks meet that requirement. So Reed Park does not have to be ADA accessible because we have other facilities that you can go to. So that's that's something that's got to be done.
And you said
Until we find out what that lower field, right?
Right.
Once we,
Or until you determine that you need that lower field.
if we need that lower field, we'll need ADA, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you not
Okay.
do a field based on ADA because we got other fields in the area.
It's compliant, so
It's
it's a matter
compliant.
of whether or not we need to
Use that
we
field.
need to utilize that field.
And that'd be the same thing for Rotten Field too.
And we've spent a lot of money replacing playground equipment and stuff like that to make it ADA compliant as it is right now, so fairly comfortable shape, I think.
Yeah, and hopefully, like I said, the master plan is going to verify some of the stuff that you guys are talking about already.
I would like to make a recommendation then for Davis Park Picnic Shelter be number 9.
Then I would say that Reed Park should be number
Read
10.
and read, follow it, or flip-flop the two.
Yeah, either way.
I think in that second year period, the rowing club center will happen. So we might as well throw it in where it's gonna be, I don't think. I'm sure it may not be the highest priority of this board, but certainly city council has more into it.
What about the buses?
On the van?
That's,
I'm going to tell you, I'm not a fan of the vans.
Do you mind if we make rowing club?
No, we need.
I don't- yeah.
That's fine, that's fine.
Yeah, I think, yes, so 11, we're going to do the rowing club as 11.
but
There's a reason behind that.
this bus and van thing's gotta,
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if we want to start that conversation right now in the middle of this priority list.
Right now, huh?
Might need to
but-
asterisk that.
I mean, it's on the priority, so it's gotta be
Well, I think
something.
that's the problem, is that it stayed on the priority
It
list.
stayed, it's been kicked down. I mean, when I look at it, being fairly new, seems like a lot of stuff's got kicked down the road. That's how I feel about it.
Absolutely.
Like at what
We've
point-
kicked the can, we've kicked the can, we've kicked the can, and either we've gotta do something about it, or we
Yeah.
gotta take it off.
Right, at what point do you decide we're voting this off the list?
Can I ask a question before we
Vote anything
go into
off
the
the list
bus?
if you want.
Why is Rodden Field closed because of the light pole that fell?
Yes.
Okay, that's a real concern for me, because honest to goodness, I mean, I forwarded you guys the email I sent, going place to
Yeah.
place, trying to
But let me
find.
clarify.
Well, that's where the ball,
Okay.
Let me clarify,
Right.
rotten field, all the poles are rotten, it's gonna be $50-some thousand to fix that field. And as far as our master plan, their guys are gonna come up with what we need to utilize that field for. Do we need it for a ball field, or for some other uses? So that's where the master plan is coming in on that part.
but the thing that concerns me, if you've got one rotten pole, you've probably got several.
That's what I said, all the
And
poles.
that's why we got the pole
Yeah,
in here.
yeah.
And if one has taken a fall, there's gonna be more.
Well, that's what I said, all the poles at rotten field are rotten.
I think, we've gotta get,
So do we maybe need a new line item just to remove the old rotten poles until we know what we're doing with the field, and then figure out how to replace them, or whatever we need it
That,
for?
removing it would be a maintenance item.
I mean,
Yeah, that's a
I don't know
maintenance
what-
item, yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm just thinking liability.
Yeah, that's a maintenance
Making sure
item.
nobody gets hurt.
I will say that both the bleachers and the ball
Lights.
field lights were phased over 5 years. We'll do one part one
Yeah.
year, another part, and so on, so we can concentrate where the money is best spent.
Moving on, I would say if we're gonna put a picnic shelter at Reed Park, then it's probably gonna need a restroom building. Because if people are gonna use it to rent it out for events, I mean, it probably is they're gonna need restrooms over there.
Put it at number 12?
So are we
makes
saying
sense.
that we're taking bleachers and ball fields somewhere else because the way it's budgeted out? I just missed that part.
No, we need a start point, so that's what I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like
We
a,
get started, and then I'm just telling you that that's our current plan right now, is to do one field at a time with lights and one field at a time with new bleachers. So I think in reality, what would happen is we pick the field that we want to enhance the most. new light poles, new
Both
bleachers.
at the same time.
And then
So,
I think that restroom facility should fall, yeah, I think what you're saying, bring the restroom facility up with the shelter, and then the lights and bleachers have got to fall in there. Probably right under that. Probably in the mid-priority range. Wouldn't say it's a low priority, and I wouldn't say it's the highest, but it's got to be somewhere in the mid.
well, I would say you're in the mid-range right now.
Yeah.
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 Gone through.
So we'll put Reed Park then at 12,
Reed Park
and then,
bathroom.
if everybody's comfortable with that, yes. And then we can put the ball fields the ball field lights at 13, and the bleachers at 14.
14.
Everybody
Yeah.
comfortable with that?
Oh, what about the splash pad?
Is that something we're waiting on the master plan for too?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So,
maybe next year. Yeah, I'll try.
And the skate park.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
think
some master plan,
That's
so you can get Katie over here. So you can just look at Katie that way.
I would say, again, we marked several that were kind of going low, but there's a few here just kind of lingering. I'm not familiar as much with the Rocky Branch Park I don't know enough about that park and don't visit that park enough to know about the priority of picnic shelters and restrooms.
I would say,
really expensive.
because my husband rides out there a lot, that I think the need for picnic shelters and restrooms is really low for the people who use it. That they're more interested in improvements to the trails
Okay.
and using that as a way to bring people to the area. And I think, if the trails are better and the need in the future is there for picnic shelters and restrooms, they would support that. But I think they would rather see the trails be improved.
And if you enhance Reed Park, you're only on 4 blocks.
Yeah,
Sure.
and they're all on bikes. So
Yeah,
they're-
good point, good point. Good point. So why don't we go then and let's go back to Kevin Lofton, what we talked about. Would the splash pad be first before the additional restroom building?
I would say yes.
I
just
would too.
Because I don't know how many Belmont citizens use the boat launch. There was obviously a big following when that was owned by Dales. And before we bought the property, we spent money, we got some money to enhance the parking lot and everything else, and that's very useful. And I think our intent was that we would also be building the parking lot to be used for events in Lofton Riverfront Park, because you can just walk up to it. But in reality, every time I drive by it, I see a lot of boats in there. They're all on trailers, but I don't see a lot of boats on trailers inside Belmont, in neighborhood streets and things like that. So I think there's a group of people, but it is served by outhouses now, which is obviously a maintenance issue problem for us. And I think that's part of the desire is to enhance that park as well. And it's nice and clean now because it's all brand new.
138,000 for restrooms there versus outhouses maintenance, what that looks like in our brand new
Yeah.
park.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
the bathrooms that are being proposed here are more like what's at Gant Park. And if you didn't see that get installed, it's one big concrete building, all fit out with toilets and everything when it comes on site. And they just put it over the plumbing and they're done. And that makes it low maintenance for us. Now, it's still Park. The building that comes off the truck is just a rectangular thing. Still Park, they had a roof on, or Gant Park, they had a roof on top to make it look prettier, and I think that would be what we'd be doing.
So do you want to put the splash pad as 15 then? And do we want to put the boat landing restroom on there as 16 or move the bus to 16?
I would move the bus up to 16.
I wanted to ask a follow-up question on the bus. This is a replacement bus, not vans? So this 150,000, that's not new vans to replace
Well,
the bus?
for that price, we thought we could get 3 very nice 15-passenger vans.
Okay, so I mean, I would be more in favor of vans than a bus for the CDL reasons and
And we've
all the
never
other
really
things.
brought that issue up with city council, so
I'm-
unless they read my book very carefully, they probably missed it.
I think this is kind of a master plan related issue in a bunch of ways too.
Well, it's incorporated a lot of other little things too. It's a lot more behind than what you see on the paper. So when we get to the next meeting,
Oh, we
I'll bring
remember.
I'll bring it out.
Yeah.
He's right.
But I still think it should be, I think it's prioritized, right?
Yeah, you still need to prioritize.
I think it's still, I think we're, where
Yeah.
it's landing right now.
16.
Yeah.
All right, so from what we, kind of brought to the bottom, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 items that we just kind of put low.
And I think you've done enough to
Okay.
cover the first 2-3 years. Priorities.
Dang, we're good, man. 3 years covered.
Without seeing the master plan.
Okay, call me.
I would really like to have that master plan right now, looking at
They
this.
can sway you into other thoughts.
Okay, no, that's good.
Okay.
Well, and I just want, to say this too, because, I don't want to discourage, obviously, like, new parks not being on the priority list.
It's true.
But I also say that in the next 3 years, there's obviously a lot of maintenance of existing things too, so.
Well, we need to take care of what we have. But before we buy new,
No, I'm very happy with the list you came up with.
I did good.
Heavy thoughts into it. I don't know if council will come back to you individually or as a board to say, hey, what were you thinking? But,
I don't know, man, that's got off 485.
I will tell you that many, many years ago, I used to go to council retreats and I'd say, you need to do this. And every year I'd tell them a list of projects they needed to do. By the time the fifth year came around, they'd say, have we got that done yet? And it's like, no, we haven't budgeted. This council, and for the last several years, that's why we went into a CIP program here, was so that they understood what their responsibilities are and want to take care of them. And that gives us opportunities, particularly in Parks and Rec, where we have kind of discretionary items or projects that we'd like to get done that, we could leave our parks the way they were 10 years ago and nobody cared, or we've got a different generation out there using the park now and they like it clean and nice and new. So, council's very supportive of you as a group, and like I said, they didn't want to do anything on their budget until they got the opportunity for us to talk to you. We'll see what happens.
And that's on the agenda for this upcoming
next week,
Monday meeting?
No, it's not. It's the June.
or the first Monday?
The first Monday, no, they were actually gonna consider it again. No, they said at their last workshop that they would like to sort of get it all wrapped up by the May meeting, which is.
Monday.
Which is next Monday.
Okay.
And then, but they still have June to deal with. They have to approve their budget before the end of June.
Okay.
So.
So we got 2 meetings to get it wrapped up.
Yeah, and they may just, after the next Monday, they might just say, okay, good enough, let's go. And the council is concentrating on the dollars right now. They're not getting into the little items of, well, do we need to do this rather than this, or whatever. They're looking to make sure that they've got CIP money. It doesn't matter if it's $2 million to spend next year or 1.7 million, or 2.5. They just want to make sure that it fits in the budget. And there has been a move over the last several years. Doug Gadd, in fact, you're sitting in his chair, it's pushed to do a 5-year budget and plan further out. So all that kind of fits in this program. Let's not be surprised by anything. Go for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, it's been fun.
Thanks, Jerry. He does a good job.
like, listen to these folks.
Everything he said. No, we're just back in the office the other day, we were talking, and really wanted to compliment the city on knocking some of these projects off, and I'm seeing a little bit where some of that's coming from, you know, the leadership that you guys have here, the planners and the city manager. Sarah, I think you've got some really good methodology and, you know, that CIP. I think that's really definitely very helpful. The other thing too is what Katie's handing out is some of the highlights, just in the focus group meetings. So I was trying to highlight some of the things that you guys were prioritizing. And what, the gym, so the community was matching up with what you guys were already saying. You know, with the gym, restroom facilities, play areas, you know, some of the disability access issues that you've got. That was good to hear that you guys are really recognizing that. How much time do we have? We don't have Carl here, so we're going to go pretty.
We got about 35.
Yeah. 5 minutes, you got 5 minutes now.
No, what time is it? What time is it?
How many times you need?
I know, I have to leave here at 5 till 8.
If y'all want to take a break now.
I gotta get home and take
Yeah, we
care of
good.
these kids.
I would say. Yes. Amy's going to be doing a lot of presentations.
Y'all have homework, how's that?
It's on y'all.
What did he say very much at this meeting about the?
Alright, so part of what we kind of set up is we have a go at the existing parks, facilities, and the proposed.
That's Leanne's. Passing your pen on.
It's all right.
Now, because
all good.
it's going to be hard for you all to see, we brought a smaller copy for you to take home. So if you would use it, we thought we'd give you guys a few weeks, and then to come up with a better look. Still hard to read because we're looking at such a big scale, but
River access, we have river access.
Alright, so we're gonna shock you with color. Can you get by there? Alright. You wanna hand these? Should be enough.
I may just sit here and let you start fold these.
Sure.
They're bringing up for bands.
No, it's all right. Okay, so what you have in front of you, why are you going to start?
That's fine.
Share. And thanks for the scorecard. That's going to help you too. So real quick, we wanted to fill you in on a little snippet of the public workshop. We had 7 folks show up, but still, input is input. So those are the top 5 things that came out of that meeting. The connectivity, whether it's greenway or walking trails, biking trails, the dog park, and thank you. I know we kind of left it up to you whether or not to come, and we had a couple of you visit us that evening. The rec center, of course, is on there with some ideas of what that could involve. River access and plan for maintenance of the system. So just like you guys today, we're going through, thinking through what does it take to maintain these parks, and the public's also thinking about that. So the focus groups, you've heard Carl fill you in on that before, so to save time, you can take this home and just take a peek at some of the things that have been standing out to him, and then same with the survey data. We got 15 more surveys after the last time we recorded, so it didn't kind of sway thing, it just kind of went in line with what we were already hearing. So those numbers, I don't know that you put absolutely every question on there, but a lot of it you'll see, again, walking, jogging, walk, run, hike. Trails are a big part of what people are participating in. And then and then it goes on to the next page. You guys talked about the splash pad, that's something that we heard that's important, not currently available. So I think you guys are right on the right track of identifying with the public, the greater public. There's some ideas about funding in there, corporate sponsors, bond referendum, some people didn't care. But what we thought was encouraging was 44% of folks feel funding Park and Rec should come mainly from taxes, with little from user fees. And then 42% felt maintaining parks should come mainly from taxes. So there's even a pretty good response about paying for this across the board. And what we heard a lot in the focus meetings was making it the parks accessible to as many people as possible and not letting money fees be a factor in that. What you've got here, the second with the tables, that's what we look at when we kind of start to get an objective view. So we've got the community's viewpoint that helps in this process, and then we've got this objective viewpoint of just a set of standards, national standards that kind of help us classify your particular parks. It should be a whole separate set of pages. So you can see the size, you can see the amount of people that are usually served by that, like the regional parks, you're talking 150 to 1,000 acres, 100,000 people served, 50 to 60 mile radius. Okay, and then we move to smaller and smaller areas all the way down to mini parks and special uses. So that's, this first paragraph here is kind of talking about that table. The second paragraph takes it to 2029. So this is looking at going into the report. That's table 3.2, the next sheet. So for regional parks, you have 4 existing, you are doing great. Those are usually provided at the state or federal level, national level. So then district parks, you've got 3. You parks, to service this area, you'd be looking at about 400 acres. You've got 410. So you're doing very well there. So what's offered to the city of Belmont as a whole on a larger scale, awesome. So community parks, you're only off by 1 acre.
Very good.
So that also, great job. And so that could be, it could be just 1 acre, but it could be another community park. And something Carl and I have been talking about is this has a lot of good coverage. The north side of town is, there's serviced by Mount Holly and Cramerton and some other areas, but the south side, all this new development that's coming in, this might be a good place to target. So if we know we need one more community park, maybe we kind of focus on trying to, we'll go into that in a second. Neighborhood parks, this is probably the biggest opportunity. There are 7 existing acres, and we're looking at needing another 29. And again, these are standards, so it may be that you guys think we need 45, or or we're doing okay. But so we recommend 2 to 3 sites to get those 29 acres. Now, neighborhood parks on the map would be this level. So the McLean property, this is the access to the water happening with the South Fork area plan. That's a waterfront park that's currently in the plan. So then maybe one more to the south side. Mini parks, you're doing well. There's 6 sites, 3 existing acres. Could go with another 4 acres and another park, but kind of Carl and I discussed is maybe not pursuing that in terms of Parks and Rec going after that land, but rather working with partners for those spaces. But we'll get into that as well. And then linear parks, greenway trails. So sad to see a 0, but we're getting there. So we're estimating about 6 miles is what we're looking for this size community. And 4 miles would be a good target for 2029. So that kind of takes us through page 2. When it comes to individual facility needs and having the tables in hand, that's going to be the next page. That gives us the standards for public facilities. So now we're looking into fields, courts, what you find in your outdoor areas, as we talked about, shelters, playgrounds, and then specialized things like the rec center or gymnasium. So what we've compared the city of Belmont to those standards and found that just lacking in one multi-purpose field. But Carl and I have discussed, and as you guys have discussed tonight, you actually might be better served with 2 to 4. Looking at trends, looking at how many kids are out there playing. So, and then with shelters, you actually don't need to have any more, but the public inputs, and not just the standards, the public input suggest that you could add a few more shelters. Play areas, the standards indicate 1, but again, you might be better served with 2 to 4, and then all new parks should have a portion of that park dedicated to some play. And that'll keep serving the community. And because those are those neighborhood and smaller parks, smaller radiuses. The rec center, community center, standards identify you need 1. You all have done that for quite some time, so we're good on that. Neighborhood center, we've got the Ford Center that could be renovated. There's 1 that's ID'd, so kind of what does that become? And then the Greenway multi-use trails, by the standards, 4 miles is what the target should be for 2029. So, not all have to be done tomorrow or prioritized for next year, the year after, but thinking 10 years, and even bigger picture, 10 years down the
I
line.
got a question. You said on here that we didn't have any trails or 0. I think I saw somewhere on here.
Yeah, Carl.
What would Rocky Branch Park
Rocky
be
Branch
considered?
Park, yeah.
Because it does have trails on it.
For bikes.
That's what I
Well, I
would
mean, you
think.
can walk it.
You can walk,
Well, I walk it.
and run.
We walk it.
Yeah.
We walk it too. I
Right.
walked it
Right.
And
once or
the-
twice.
And it's not really a greenway, but it's a
It's a trail. It's a
It is a
trail.
trail.
The Carolina's Thread Trail out by Stowe, botanical too. That's
Yeah, the 7
Yeah,
Oaks
that's
Trail.
down here, but that's private
Okay.
property, and that's actually something I wanted to clarify tonight.
Sure. Not
You
one-
can-
Part is Belmont.
Like for instance, I know it gets confusing, but,
Uh-huh.
and I can't speak for Carl how they came up with that, but again, there's a lot of things, if you use that, then all of a sudden you meet that need. And then, one of the things that, we've heard from the community, and I'm telling you, I could walk in here on our interview, like I said, walking trails, greenways.
I agree.
Yeah.
I run and I won't run at Rocky Branch.
You would
So
you
I
would have to
wouldn't
be a
classify
trail
it.
runner
Right, I
to run
wouldn't
at Rocky
classify
Branch.
that.
Yeah.
Different experience.
So there's
Yes.
probably
I
somewhere in
agree.
between,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's some of the
I agree
things
with
that we've got to, kind of hash out. I mean, because again, council may see that and have the same question, right? 0, we got it. So what is it? So how do we want to clarify that or quantify it? And then what does this community, where do we feel the need is for that?
Go
Because
around count.
the greenways and all those trails are, I believe a lot of communities, they lack that, and they lack the planning, and it never takes place, and gets very hard, it takes years.
Yeah.
Even though you've got sewer lines, but you can't walk on them, they're not designated with that easement, so, it just takes a long time, so, plan it, particularly like when you're looking at, this gets hard, but this is where it's all confined and we can get up there, but when you start looking at this area, the growth in the near future, that's something that you gotta focus on and try to plan. The developer comes in, you try to have them build trails, and you begin to link all these things, whether you're a runner, biker, or just in your community. We always say figure 8 trails. I mean, everybody likes to go different ways. If you have different ways of connecting, it kind of changes up your experience.
Does that include the trails behind Stuart Kramer, the ones that they use for their cross-country team? There's a fire station over there that's real close to Belmont's border.
That's the Catawba Thread Trail and Rocky Branch.
That's part of Rocky Branch?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was thinking earlier about that Abbey Creek too, just for our future thought process is that, as we look at the light rail coming into Belmont too and coming through that corridor, all of that land is going to become very desirable. And I don't know what the appetite for the city is going to be for putting in a greenway trail there in the future. If if you're looking at future development and, you know.
Well,
so-
Charlotte had that problem. They had the Cross Charlotte Trail, and they
Right.
realized it's gonna cost $1
Right.
million a mile to run it through the middle of the
Yeah,
city.
so maybe it's better to look at doing some of that stuff now, so then that the future growth has to happen around it.
The thing is, though, if we show a trail on a map, we have the opportunity, as these developers come in, to have them participate in the construction of that. And that's exactly what we're doing with this apartment complex. And there'll be those opportunities. Yes, if the light rail comes out, that changes the whole image out there, but it also gives us an opportunity to say, okay, we've got people in apartments, they need walking trails more than single-family houses down at the end of the peninsula.
Definitely, and we have identified on the second page at the bottom, linear parks, greenery trails. There's still a question of, you want to make sure we have all the latest info on that, and I don't know the circle is it, but he's identified, at Ed Gant Park, there's walking, you can walk on the paths, there's Kevin Lofton Riverfront Park, there's sidewalk, there's paths you can walk on, so again, like to Andrew's point of identifying, what do we classify a greenway as, and does it have to be asphalt path that, that's 10 feet wide, and, so we've got a lot on the proposed plan. We've captured the Carolina Thread Trail, so we know where that's coming in, but there's opportunities of overlap, and so it's kind of how does that work between Belmont and the Carolina Thread Trail, or like you said, as developers come in, and so that's all a part of it. We'll get into that a little bit more, just a second. It's great questions, and this is kind of our interactive presentation part, so sorry to make you guys think so hard tonight about the priorities, because then we're going to be asking you some questions too, but it's all good stuff. So we started with Belmont's role, it's on page 3. We really see the most impact that Belmont can have is concentrating on providing a neighborhood park, community park, and special facilities level. You're being provided for at the larger regional, the district level, but neighborhoods, community parks, special facilities is where you can really have a huge impact on the community. And those special facilities you can see listed there could be a rec center, sports and athletics park, splash park, dog park, and those greenways. Continue to improve and maintain existing facilities operated by the department. So that's a recommendation, and you guys have already spoken to that tonight. Continue to implement pedestrian connections to existing and proposed parks. We've heard that a lot. And speaking with the community and surveys that people want to be able to get from one park to the next, or downtown and out. So keep working on those. And the city has plans for implementing projects through the pedestrian master plan. Partnering with other agencies to develop special facilities in the community. So that's kind of the target areas that we see the city of Belmont see you guys pursuing. And then federal and state, that's kind of opportunities. There's grant monies, and ZIP's already going after some of that. Continue, that's a way to assist the community with that funding. And then you've got access to those national and federal sites, both in North Carolina and South Carolina, because you guys are right on the border. And then maybe there's some opportunities, this comes a little later, but with different federal partners, where we've got the Catawba Land Conservancy, the Carolina Thread Trail, possibly the Stowe Foundation, but different ways that the Clean Water Act, just different ways NCDOT that you guys are connected at that level. And Gaston County is also, they're the district park provider. They're doing neighborhood, community, district, regional parks. They're kind of doing the gamut, except for the small stuff. Like those at George Costin, South Fork, Catawba Heights, North Belmont, and connections with the Carolina Thread Trail and the Blue Line. And the county also aids with rec sites as needed through joint agreements and agencies with the schools. That's a big one for City of Belmont for you guys, is the joint agreements with the schools, and that's how you have access to a lot of the fields, and so those are important, and keep on doing them. Other towns, municipalities that are around you, they're doing the same thing you guys are. They're trying to plan for what's coming, and so, kind of be a resource to each other where you can, and collaborate where you can. Maybe there's some opportunity to work across the river, quasi-public, those are institutes where they provide recreation where the public sector can't. Like the YMCA, Belmont College, Gaston Aquatics, and Gators and other clubs. So keep those relationships open and going. Private sector, as we were saying, dedication of open space and parkland through the development process. And so Carl and I were discussing this, and sometimes public entities kind of get unloaded with the worst of the developer's land. So we have a suggestion. We don't know what's doable, but could there be a payment in lieu of dedication option? Where rather than developer in some cases for greenway connections, you absolutely want them to be developing that. But if they have a piece of land and you just can't get access to or use what they're going to give to you, can you say, give us the money so we can take care of maintenance or build something somewhere else? I don't know. We'll see.
No, we have an in-lieu program.
Do we? Okay. Okay, so that's a possibility. And then again with the private sector, find ways to partner on providing recreation, and possibly they could give support through gifts and donations. So that brings us into parks and facilities. So those were the roles, and then this is getting into the recommendations. Regional district, again, just for sake of time, those are the larger scale stuff. Belmont's being adequately served, but you can just read on that, because we also mentioned the Mecklenburg County Whitewater Center, Daniel Stowe, that things that you guys have access to that you don't necessarily have to take care of or have any responsibility to, that residents have. It increases what's being provided to them. So you can take a look at those. The community parks, we would love some feedback here, because we have some ideas, and we kind of want to hear what you guys have to say. Acreage, we talked about how only 1 additional acre of community parkland is needed by 2029, but also services need to be provided, and that the south side might be a good place because so much is concentrated, which it should be in downtown. But so create a community active recreation with development of the new middle school site to the south. And we want also Zip to get you to weigh in on that. So this little dot here of this greater community park radius, is there an opportunity to have more athletic fields out there?
Yes, to the reciprocal agreement.
Okay, so that's the, we were thinking, rather than rather than the Gaither property, which we acknowledge is, because of topography, more challenging. Andrew can tell you from vast years' experience more than me. You're working with just pads at one level, and when you have topography, it's hard to reach that without spending a lot of money, and then if you don't have the utilities there to spend a lot of money for that. So if we've already got a site that the school's going at that we could work with, and here's that opportunity where we talked about having 1 to 4 additional athletic fields. Maybe this is a better spot for that.
When is that proposed, or, when is that coming
2
online?
years.
Or
2 years. 2 years.
So there's already a site plan, so we just need to get a.
Oh, there's already construction.
Already constructed, already.
Yeah, there's hot walls and buildings.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we could.
They're including the football, soccer field, they're including a couple of baseball.
Baseball,
fields, yeah.
soccer,
Do we have
softball too.
We
I
don't
think.
have anything in writing, though, as far as agreement that they're going to let us use that.
Yeah, we do.
Do we?
We
Because
do.
we gave them $400,000.
Yeah, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Is the site fully developed? or is
No,
there-
they're holding the back end of the site, which has a little more topography for future uses of some sort. That could be the elementary school, it could be selling it off for development.
Something to think about. And then I know there's been talk of different ideas with the Gaither site. When we met, if that property stays and you guys are looking for a use for it, that could definitely be an area where you have more passive recreation, more trails and picnic tables and shelters, and And so maybe not the athletic facility that you're originally thinking of the purchase of that land, but it still could have value. And especially with the waterfront park going in right next door, those two parks would really serve that South Park area plan, that community. So that's an idea. It sounds like that's kind of already in the works. So, but your thoughts on, because there's been thoughts about Gaither and what to do with it. Have you thought of it before as a
Passive side?
No. Have we talked about Gaither with this in a while?
No, it's not
We haven't
gonna
really.
Yes.
It's my first time I've heard of it, actually.
Okay, that's what I
I
kind
I think
of
it's
thought.
come up a few times,
Yeah.
just like in mention, but not
talked
in any
about it.
sort of formal presentation.
Not as a passive area. I mean, that actually has possibility.
I mean, you've got like disc golf, you know, I mean, it's gaining some popularity.
Right.
My daughter just started playing it, so I was surprised that she was, but.
They got one over in Cramertown.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not, it's not that invasive, to a site to have someone come in. They usually work with the topography of the trees, and you're not really taking down a whole lot. It can be easily done with a club or low budget. So, I mean, there's other things, the other thing that I know that Katie, you and Carl mentioned about just, potentially programs. I know it's not, it'd be great if the site was right next to the school site, but there's always joint use, with the school site to get outside. We often do a lot of parks and schools and try to make that linkage, particularly like pedestrian. I know it's a little bit difficult today. They want to bus everybody, they got to count everybody, so it's a little bit more difficult. But that's something that could be considered, particularly with the programs. Parks have their environments or classrooms outside, so it's just a matter of just trying to partner up with the schools with certain programs and certain creativity. The schools can get grants and things like that, and back to Katie's point, we're going to have a lot of partnering of programming. Because we always say programming drives facilities, so if you have the programming, then that helps you figure out, some of the needs, uses on these facilities.
So at the neighborhood park level, from looking to the future to 2029, we're recommending 2 additional park sites, looking to the north and the south. And again, you can see the sea of green that lives in the downtown area, not so prevalent in the south. So he's got, developed the McLean property as Seven Oaks Park with a trailhead for the Seven Oaks Trail. Develop a park along the South Fork River as indicated by the South Fork Area Plan. That's the purple circle. Make improvements at existing park sites such as Reed, Davis, and Crescent, all of which you were hashing through tonight. So that's at that neighborhood park level. And with the Greenway connections, that was a question that we had. Are there Greenway connections that you guys see that we should consider more than just, what we see on maps, and being that some of you might be, or spouses might be utilizing them on a very frequent basis? Because we've got the Catawba Thread Trail, sorry. That's wrong. Carolina Thread Trail. So, they're projected to come all the way up and then come in, coming through here. But, and when you take your maps down, maybe it's just you can circle some areas where you think it would make sense for connections.
And your CIP, you have the Abbey. Do we have that?
Yes.
We have that as well, right?
Yep, that's this little area up here.
Okay.
Okay, oh, I skipped over. Mini parks, again, don't recommend purchasing land for that. Instead, through development, through neighborhood groups, we were discussing defaulted tax parcels earlier today. Use existing undeveloped sites where available, or even work with like Main Street merchants, neighborhood groups and associations, and try to create those mini pocket parks that way as opposed to purchasing land and establishing them. The special facilities, those are the headings all down below. We've got the Greenway Bikeway, the Rec Center, Ford Center, Arts and Education. The Greenways, like Andrew said, move forward with the Abbey Greenway, move forward with phase 1 and phase 2 plans for the rail trail project, the Carolina Thread Trail from Main Street to north of Belmont Abbey. Move forward with multi-purpose or multimodal streetscape along Wilkinson Boulevard. And that was referred in both ways. Using the McLean property is described above for a neighborhood park site and trailhead for Seven Oaks. Develop the Carolina Thread Trail map plan for connections to adjacent towns. So not only were those connections happening in Belmont, but are there areas that make sense to happen between your communities? Develop as many pedestrian walkway improvements to connect downtown with recreationally used areas or sites such as schools, shopping, parks, natural features, and other recreation sites. And again, that's something we heard all the way through this process. So connectivity and developing those routes is really important. And then there's just some ideas for funding that can be done specifically towards greenway and bikeway development. The rec center, we've heard that it's needed. This multi-generational element to it has come out a lot. You've got the previous studies we brought up tonight that verify that it's needed. This is one we would like some feedback on. So currently the discussion has been about having the rec center adjacent to the new city hall. So over by the Kevin Lofton Riverfront Park. Something we talk about is the importance of having facilities that are more centralized so that they're more accessible. So we were wondering if it was still a possibility to consider that, the rec center being more central. And just today, we were discussing the old middle school site. And if there's any potential. No, he's raising his eyes.
I think it just brings up a couple of questions, and I just made a note here talking about, and I didn't mean to jump, I'm gonna jump one little spot, but like the existing Ford Center, if you were saying that their plan is to move down to your new site out of there by the end of the year, ideally, it's kind of what the plan would be. Is there plans to renovate the Ford Center? I mean, and should that be a CIP item?
It is a CIP project, but it's not within Parks and Rec.
Okay.
And it's to look at it in the next year, evaluate the building to see if it's worth doing, because it's pretty old. And then deciding what to do with it and how to renovate it for that purpose. It may get renovated for totally non-Parks and Rec purpose.
Is it council that decides that? Or
Yeah, it'd be council.
which part of the CIP does it follow?
We have a section we call community enhancement, which is a lot of the downtown stuff, streetscapes, things like that.
Now, when the Parks and Rec moves, is that also, I'm not as familiar with the City Hall move. Are they going to the same
they're all
area?
All in the same place, yeah.
So this building will be planned
Another one
for,
of our questions.
Yeah. Well, this one, the plan is that it will remain as a city hall.
okay.
There won't be people here during the day particularly, but they want to blow out the wall and make the council chambers much bigger.
Make it more like a town hall.
Yeah, make it bigger.
So it'd be a meeting facility as well.
I think
Which
the
could be
only
useful.
person they're planning to have here is our downtown coordinator. Yeah. You don't
Downtown
move him.
coordinator, you better be down.
Okay.
But I mean, you'd be surprised. I mean, it's just like with all these different communities that we work in. It's crazy. That's all I just said.
Did you say you had one more question?
Well, I mean, I think, we've kind of mentioned this before, I think even with the old middle school. I mean, obviously I have no idea what those plans are, what the county's plans are, but, it would be interesting to know. Just to see. I mean, there is a gymnasium there, and, I mean, obviously it needs major renovation, but anyway, I don't know, those are my top threes.
The rumors for that building is maybe residential
Sure.
apartments.
Which is what they did in Cramerton.
Yeah.
Because obviously, I mean, I went to the old Cramerton Junior High. They're now apartments, but fortunately for them, their gymnasium was detached, and the Parks and Recreation was able to take that over. So that was, beneficial for that part.
not exactly the best basketball field in the courts in town. It works good for.
Better than zero.
And sometimes, with the downtown and just how Belmont is growing, just with all the connectivity and the density, we just throw that out. I mean, it's like, why do you want to go way out? You could look at a lot of reasons why people are coming back to downtown. They used to put everything out. Yes, it's easy to do that, but, if you got a lot of people working and playing, we're even my company, we're working, I work from home when I can, so I mean, people, they live downtown, they work here, they want to play here as well, so, rather than get in the car and go off to the rec center, they can, be right here where they work and play, so it's just something, if the old building's looking to be residential, that just tells you, people are going, they want to be here, so, those things, when we look at rec centers and where to place them, we understand there's political reasons, there's if you own the land, I mean, we get all that. So sometimes it has to go where it has to go. But in plans like this and in the conceptual stage, we just kind of let's just challenge ourselves to ask those questions. Because that's really what makes a dynamic plan, and when it gets executed, it's really cool. So.
Well, the thing about residential at that old school is that there's still no parking. So, and the land that they would use parking belongs to the city of Belmont, directly behind it. So that's just interesting to me,
Sounds like a good revenue opportunity.
I will say, that's a long ways away.
Absolutely.
County schools own the building.
Yeah.
They can't just give the land away.
Right.
You gotta go through the whole process. I'd say, if you're holding your breath, you gotta go for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Before you see anything.
10 years.
Because, I mean,
just gonna sit,
once they vacate the building, secure it, they're in no rush to do anything.
Correct.
Somebody comes up and says, I'm gonna give you a ton of money.
Sure.
Yeah, that may be the case, but it could be like Chronicle Mill over here. And into it, they say, oh, wait, there's lead problems, we got this problem, and all of a sudden the expense goes way up. So,
And it may not be that site, just, y'all could just think about that. I mean, just think about it, there's.
Not too many sites.
Not
much money.
Running out of
Not too
places
many
very quickly. Very quickly.
So when it comes to the Forest Center, you've already asked the question, so thank you very much. We were wondering, existing facility improvement, it's going to require likely some major renovations or maintenance repairs, and not sure what the repurpose of the site would accomplish. So, like what would be the vision for that space? And then also, Carl's really big on that guardrail at the parking. For arts and education, we think there's a real opportunity for local partnerships with Gaston College and Belmont Abbey to get arts in the park, especially this pavilion that you guys are interested in trying to push for Stowe. Why not have Romeo and Juliet in the park or something, just try to encourage people again downtown. But yeah, or can arts programs be entertained at the Ford Center site or here at the old City Hall? So just trying to think through those relationships and where those spaces are that could happen. The dog park wasn't mentioned tonight, so that is something that came up both in the focus group meetings and the public workshop. So don't want to let that one fall off the radar. One of the places that we have been looking at was the Rodden Field site. The potential of making that a practice field and then a dog park too. We've already got the parking out there and there's utilities nearby. So.
I have a question about the dog park, okay? Did you have a lot of people wanting that, or did you have the number of very passionate people?
I would say it did show up in the survey.
Right.
And that is a broader audience. That's, that was received back from 272 folks, which as we talked about is, you represent a whole family oftentimes when you fill that out. So, but in terms of our interaction with the public, it was a smaller group. But I do think that showed up in the
Seemed like it was in the top 3.
Development, I thought I saw something about that 4-story.
There's a dog park in Eagle Park.
Oh, yeah, that's
You
right.
can just go over and watching Kim. But
Well, that's what I was gonna ask, like in the trend of dog parks, I don't have a dog. And so my question is do people drive to the dog park or do they walk leisurely and go to the dog park as they're out on their walk?
I think we've seen both, and it's just
Okay.
kind of depending on the land,
I
like
mean,
what area it's
there's
in.
different dog parks, there's
Yeah.
different,
Sure.
just like, you know, the wow factor, you may have really nice big dog parks with a lot of different features in them. You know, sections for smaller dogs, sections for larger dogs.
Right.
You know, dog
There are
wash
drinking
stations,
fountains and wash
you know,
stations.
water, I mean, you name it. You know, Katie's done a few of those, so yeah, and then there's the smaller ones, just, you know, to get.
Like in the neighborhood, I guess, like
Yeah.
Eagle Park, okay.
Do you have a lot of maintenance?
For those?
Yeah.
The gravel one, how often is that?
Yeah, not really, I mean, you know, I think that, you know, dogs,
Yeah,
they're
they-
supposed to clean up after your dog, you know,
Doesn't-
so. Yeah.
I think
So-
there's treatments to put them in the soil
Yeah.
as you go
Was that-
along.
You
Sometimes we've done gravel,
Really?
so.
The ZIP used to manage a dog park, the Tuckasee Park.
Yeah,
CG. Did it get a lot of use?
right now, I mean, I've been looking at the trends for the last year, and it's not heavily used at Tuckasee.
Right.
Poston's always
Posting is.
super crowded. We go out there on Saturdays and it is really, it can get really crowded.
But it just shows you what you want to put into the dog park, like he said. I mean, it's some developments you require DNA tests, and they test it and see if you'll poop. You don't put out the poop, then you get fined for it.
Right.
So a lot of developments are going to that. Yeah, you pay a $50 fine up front, and they test your dog, and then they can
Well,
go back and
just for
yeah.
instance, like
I mean,
if this community
That's what they're doing.
continues to grow, folks are wanting to come here to
I think a lot of younger, like people my
You
age,
mentioned a
we
lot
all
of
have
dogs at
dogs.
Stone
Yeah,
Park, and
everybody I
maybe,
know.
wow, we've got a policy, if there's too many dogs and no one's cleaning up after themselves, well then you dedicate a dog park somewhere, you know, for those dogs, you have leash law and all those things. So there's a lot of policies that goes in with that, but you're, you know, obviously your higher urban areas or more high dense areas have the need for dog parks, 'cause it's all asphalt or it's all, you know, roads and buildings.
I don't know if people would have a chance to get there, but I always thought Linford would be a good place for small on one side, large on the other, but there's no parking.
There's no
Everybody walks their dog that lives over there already, kind of goes through there, but it's a big space and a dog could,
You
it'd
wouldn't
be a
see
good.
that much parking. I don't know the site you're talking about, if it's pretty rural. Okay.
But we talked about play equipment though.
Yeah,
We might be
yeah.
trying to put too much-
Well, there's one end where you can put stuff in,
Yeah.
but the rest is basically just along a gully.
Yeah, there's a
So maybe
walking path.
Yeah, if there was, like, just add a little fence at either end,
Right.
and suddenly it's a dog park, maybe.
I think that's something that this
Bring it
community could
back.
just see the need for,
Mhm.
you know, just to kind of test it, see, you know, what the community would want.
We had a citizens group that came, not too long before you guys started with us, that came and expressed their interest in a dog park. I'm not sure how many people they represented as far as that group, but I know specifically one is very heavily involved, her business is downtown, lives downtown, so I'm,
I think they
obviously
wanted
there's.
a downtown dog park.
Yeah.
But they're gonna put it at like the river, or
Yeah, they
Kevin
wanted,
Lofton, I think.
yeah, they wanted Miller Kevin Lofton.
Yeah, so just something to think about, like,
Or maybe,
something like we talked about for the rec center, you know, it's easy, but is that the right place for it? Or it's easier, but is that?
if we don't get the Greenway right away soon, not right away, if we don't get the Greenway trail, because whatever with the apartment complex, maybe a section of that area down there could be dog park in either end or something. Might be a starting place to create a little bit of development there before the whole trail goes through.
Jerry would know more about that.
Very good.
Well, at the east end, across from Lofton Park, of course, we'll put a parking lot there. And that pretty much takes, we had to acquire land from somebody else. The college owns a lot of land there, but it's down low in the floodplain and stuff, so it's appropriate for there. On the west end, that trail will come out Brewer Street. And that's the one-way street out of Walgreens, after you go through
Yep.
Walgreens, back way out. that's about it, so there's not much there for, somewhere we need a parking lot so people can go park and walk and walk back.
Can we put a dog park in a floodplain? I know Goat
Yeah, you
Island,
can.
that's basically a
It's
floodplain.
hard.
Yeah.
It's difficult to maintain because our
They say flood.
Right.
floodways and they flood, yeah.
Yeah.
Get one way to clean it up.
Yeah, just
Wash it out.
Just don't drink the water.
Don't need a DNA test.
Our water
I
is-
understand.
Yeah, don't worry about the water gone.
So something to think about, yeah, that we're also looking into. And then the splash pad, that water element showed up a lot in the survey, so glad to hear you guys include that for the next couple of years. I know currently it's thought that that would be associated with the rec center, in the new city hall, if it's all over by the county hall in Riverfront Park. But again, what's the best place for that? I think there'd be room for it, we looked at it, but we're just trying to decide what is the best site. Water access, Blueway Trail access at Abbey Point, you can't see the blue very well. Then the road club site, Jerry was talking about, 7 Trail access, it's part of the South Fork area plan. And then you've already got the 2 points of access with Duke, so that's a fair amount of access. There's kind of missing, piece in here, but a lot of that's unincorporated land. But something that even Andrew and I were talking about, and he mentioned earlier, was what can we build into now for the future? If that land one day is likely to become part of Belmont, could we get ahead of that?
Yeah, there's several communities, we've master planned and built parks that weren't even in their city limits, because they had nothing left in their city limits. I mean, from Salisbury, I'm trying to think here in North Carolina, Salisbury, Greenville, Greensboro. I mean, there's a lot of communities that's done that, so.
East Head land is getting sparse in a lot of places. So. And the very last page, page 6, is what you already covered tonight, Jerry. So that was just picking up on the list of the financial improvements. You guys have more than gone through those. So any further questions from you all? Overall, we feel like we got on the right track. I mean, we looked at the survey with all those improvements, and like, man, they're nailing it. So we just want to help kind of guide over these next 10 years. But is there anything that came up that you're surprised by, or you think we have either focus more on, or something that's way off base?
What is your schedule?
I think you're going to talk about that.
Yeah, so we were considering either a special meeting in July or shooting for the August 1st. But the draft, I know we've fallen a little off schedule because we had to push this meeting out a couple weeks, so that was a question that we had actually. In 2 weeks would be your normal meeting time. Are you looking to have a second meeting in May, or?
Yeah.
I think so.
I know the email came out about it,
Or
yeah.
would it be the 22nd, and give yourself a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks out,
That's
or
up
3
to you
weeks
guys.
out? That'll kind of help, because that would,
I'm
we
good,
would be looking at
whatever.
preparing,
Yeah, same here.
having the draft, we'd be preparing to have the draft ready for that meeting, so, that was our original target with a second.
My biggest concern is that
Getting it in
some of
before.
them go to the council
Mhm.
to affirm what they've already made a decision.
Right, the final, I think, always was gonna
So do you want to
be
do
released afterward, but
So the
we might be able to get
council,
the draft out.
they're meeting on the
in front of
6th.
us. And then we were also targeting a second public meeting to release
15th,
the draft
how's
to
the
the public for
15th 's good.
their
Claudine.
review.
How's the 15th?
Oh, it's okay.
15?
I have another meeting that night, but if everybody else can make it, I don't want to be the...
Well, Mark can't do it, so I'm gonna.
15th, 2 weeks.
We can push it to the 22nd.
Yeah, I
That'd
can
be
do that.
Before Memorial Day
22nd?
weekend. Like,
When is
I've already got it
Memorial
on
Day
my calendar.
I had it on my.
You got
You
the
do it for the
22nd?
22nd?
No, I've already got the 15th on my
That's
calendar.
your normal
That's a
schedule.
normal,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we
Ah.
wouldn't normally be meeting
Wow.
today, we would have met in a couple.
So y'all want to
So
do,
we want to do the 22nd?
how, 22nd, Mark?
That's fine.
22nd?
Is that
Yeah.
Memorial Day?
So for the,
22nd.
so for the 22nd, we'll have the draft.
And I'll bring some snacks or something.
Root beer.
I will be here
Yeah,
then.
I'll bring some snacks for that one.
I'm getting here if there's gonna be.
Yeah.
Healthy sticks. So then the public meeting, we had talked about doing that between the 29th of May and the 5th of June. Do we want to look at pushing that back another week? Are we happy with those dates? Or, I mean, I know we're in summer now, so schedule.
Well, the last day of school in Gaston County is the 5th.
Okay.
So that, I don't know how you guys feel about, if we're doing a public meeting and maybe trying to do it before school's out, because I'm afraid when school's out, then people
It's gonna be
start
tough, yeah.
going and leaving and it's not, I don't know. That's just my initial thought, but
And
you
that was
guys,
Thursday, correct?
the 5th is on a Wednesday.
Could you do it the week before?
Well, it's just Memorial Day weekend, and when we think people are going to be traveling, do we think they're going to travel more
I think they'll
before
have
or
to-
after?
I think they would have to be back the day after Memorial Day.
Okay.
So does it give you enough time to do the 29th as a
So
public
there's
meeting?
week From this meeting.
Yeah, I know you're out then,
I don't know.
but Carl and I can be here.
Okay. Now, how do we look in terms of advertising? Does that give us,
It gives you 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks.
is there,
We can get something out soon.
okay.
Quick.
I know the last time we did with students, they brought home something in their backpacks, right?
Mm-hmm. We could have, I don't know, we'll do
Or we
something.
could talk about utility bills and sticking something in there or something. Social media, make a big campaign.
Well, we're getting ready to send out our newsletter Friday,
Okay,
so we can have something in there for that.
okay, so the 22nd, we'll meet with the advisory board, the stand committee, and then the 29th
Is a
public meeting.
public meeting on the master plan.
And that's more of an informational session.
And that's going to be held where?
That's another thing we got.
I'll have to check, and I'll have to let you guys know, because I have to check
With Gaston College.
Gaston College and check at the PD department here.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll shoot for Gaston College again.
Okay.
So that's the 29th.
Yeah, that's a good space.
Okay, what time? 6 o'clock?
Yeah, would be 6. It's a
6?
hard time to travel. It doesn't
Better
matter.
7? Maybe just a little
They
later.
want to say 6:30?
6:30?
Yeah.
6:30? Okay, 6:30.
And I would say, I mean, Andrew, this meeting being an informative meeting rather than a sit down around tables, I know that we passed an amphitheater style room in there.
Yeah,
Do you think doing something like that?
I had to ask them.
Okay. But the room we were in still had plenty of seating.
Okay, so I'll shoot for that again.
So that's our next steps then. Draft to get to you guys for the 22nd meeting, and then we'll work with Zip to secure a location that we're planning on the 29th for the public meeting. And then we will turn around,
That was the 24th for the meeting here.
still have the,
22nd for our next meeting.
some of
Okay, I got it.
probably mid-June, maybe to get the draft out. Is there a cutoff point where that council needs to?
No, I don't think so at this point.
Okay.
They're gonna just put out money. Like I said, they've been concentrating on dollars. Because I believe we had a June meeting scheduled for us to review the final document. And then we were gonna try to go to council for approval in July, but potentially as a special meeting. Or August 1st. Yeah, I think it needs to be a special meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Anybody got any other business?
Motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'm making a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right, and these are maps for y'all to take home.
Oh, great, thank you. Oh, wow.
Okay,
Thank you.
got to collect these.
Drop off the
Yeah, she said she'll do these in about a week.
If that is,
The map in a week?
give you a chance to kind of, what you were trying to be.
Yeah, she needs that back in about a week.
Okay, leave it on.
Tell me exactly what you need, so they can.
So this is.
Yeah, tell us exactly what you need.
What you've got is this map up here.
Yeah.
What we started to put together, I mean, work in progress, we're fine tuning it, but in terms of locations, future parks, greenway trails, what we're looking at, we've got the Carolina Thread Trails, there's those in there, but, you know, to other potential connections, trailheads that you guys think would be valuable. Do you have some other ideas that we just kind of missed on athletics?
So you need this by email, or how?
I think, I mean, I would say have at it, and, yeah, you could, if you have the capability to scan it in, but if not, I
Not
think if we
this.
can get it to zip.
Oh, okay, so we need to come by and drop it off to you, okay?
Yeah, drop out back.
Mark it up.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Zip.
We're gonna start having the 7th inning stretch.
I always say, the mind can only take but from the door. That's one of the things I talk about.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
See you, Mark.